I'm Kira Rudik, a member of Ukrainian Parliament and leader of the Holos Party. I come from IT. Before becoming a politician, I was an IT specialist and then a CEO of an IT company that in 2018 we sold to Amazon for over $1 billion. And after that, I came to Ukrainian Parliament. I continued my work not only in IT, because I'm a first vice chair of the IT committee, but on the important matter of women leadership. So first of all, I'm extremely proud that our faction, it's 20 people in Ukrainian Parliament. We have 9 of 20 MPs who are women. And this is unprecedented for Ukrainian politics all in all. As for the party representation in Ukraine, of 350 members of the local councils, the majority are also women. So it's funny to joke that we are a female party, but just called differently. But it is what it is. My work before war was dedicated to implementing liberal values into Ukraine legislation. And one of the values is obviously the equal opportunities for men and women in our country. When I was in IT, again, I'm super proud that our company had an unprecedented amount of women. It was 30% for IT companies, still even in Silicon Valley. It's a very good number. So I'm happy to answer all of your questions related to female leadership, war, maternity, anything that you're interested in.
So what is the situation now, a month in? Is there anything you can kind of share with us?
So I'm just back from the sitting of Ukrainian Parliament just 20 minutes ago. And we had like 1 month anniversary of war. I never knew that anniversaries are celebrated this way, but they are. And today we had speakers from I think Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and they were coming and to support us and show their gratitude and support the Ukrainian nation. So 1 month at war, there are good things and bad things. The good things is that we are still standing. So at the day 1, all the intelligence friends from all over the world were saying, we are giving you guys like 24 to 48 hours tops. And watch us in 1 month. We are opposing one of the largest armies in the world. We are opposing them, and they were not able to take any major city. And this is a great thing. And this happens because Putin actually thought that he would be fighting our army. And instead, it turned out that he's fighting every single man and woman in Ukraine. And there's a huge difference between that. The bad thing is that after a month, we are still asking for the same thing from our international partners. Today, there was a NATO summit in Brussels, which we had really high hopes on, to get a closed sky, a no-fly zone over Ukraine. We did not get it. And it is frustrating because on day 1 and day 30 of war, we are asking for the same thing that we cannot get. Ukrainian army and Ukrainian resistance are fighting extremely bravely on the ground. And this is why Russia, who lost like over 15,000 people within a month, which is more than they lost in 10 years in Afghanistan, decided to change tactics. So their tactics right now is to surround cities and then just keep bombarding it to the ground. We see it in the city of Mariupol, we see it happening in Kharkiv, and we know this is a plan for Kiev. So for the last 4 days, the shelling of the city extremely intensified. You know, from the personal perspective, at some point you become such a experienced war survivor or whatever, that you like during the day, we don't even react to the air raid sirens. I can tell you honestly, we just like, again, something like this. And because there is many of it, and the shelling continues, and every single day we wake up to information of more and more destruction in our city. And like, there is obviously nothing that we can do to stop it. This is why we are asking for more jets, for S-300s, for ability to protect ourselves from the sky. But the most important and the most frustrating is that you personally cannot do anything. Like, I have a resistance team of 30 people here. My house is barracks right now. People are sleeping on the ground. We are training. We have food storage. We are calculating everything so we can survive a siege. Guys are going onto the assignments that they are given by our army, etc. But I mean, and you can feel normal, so that you have a control of that. You're training to fight, you're training to fire guns, so nothing bad will happen to you. You will be able to resist. When you're hearing that they might blow up the train station and create a siege in the city, you say, okay, but we have enough food. But there is absolutely nothing that you can do when the rocket hits a home or hits a home nearby. And believe me, I have been like at so many places where the rocket hit, and then you come as an MP and talk to them, to the people, if they get enough support, etc., there is no chance to survive. Behind my back, let me show you. You see, there is a tape on the windows. So you know why is it here? It is so if there is explosion behind my back, so the glass, when it will shatter down inside, it wouldn't kill me. So it will go as one piece instead of going to the fractures, because this is what is killing people after the explosion. The last place I've been to was the shopping center that was destroyed because Russians said there are Nazis there. So guess what? In the middle of the night, there was nobody there, but people in the places nearby, they died in their homes because they were just killed by the shockwave and the things that. So once you know and you have these things to control, you feel okay. But there's this particular thing with the attack from the air that you cannot control, and this is the most frustrating. This is the most frustrating.
I mean, how did you come to know how to protect yourself? Or if you have 30 people in a place, where are you getting the information from? Or are you kind of making it up as a team as you go? Or where are you getting, guidance from?
The beauty of Ukrainian resistance, is that probably any kind of resistance, is it's a completely decentralized system that where everybody is organized their own unique way. And that, so if there is one unit destroyed, the rest are just yeah, too bad, and then continue going. And you cannot be ready to a war. You can try and you can persuade yourself, but honestly, nobody is ever ready unless you're attacking. And even so, on the day one, I woke up 5 a.m. Oh, so this is a funny story. So I'm besides being on a female leadership committee, IT, etc., I'm also co-chair on the animal welfare committee. And one of our last initiatives is against the fireworks. Because we have, after having a war for 8 years with Russia on our eastern part, we have many commissioned soldiers, and who get really frustrated. We have many people who were moved from these regions who get really frustrated when they hear fireworks, because it reminds them of the explosions of the rockets. And it also critically bad for animals, they run away, etc. So this was the initiative that we were pushing to forbid the fireworks inside the cities. So 5 a.m. Thursday morning, a month ago, and I hear the explosions. outside on the streets, and I like my first thing, like my first thought after I woke up was like, we gotta forbid these damn fireworks. But it was not fireworks, it was explosions. And I remember then at 7 a.m. we went to the parliament, we voted for martial law in Ukraine, and then they said, you guys, if you need rifles, we can give them to you so you can protect yourself. And I thought, okay, I will take one. I don't have to make any decisions right now. I will take one and I will stay. And I remember standing in the line with many people to the police station where they were giving the rifle. And I was wearing some crazy expensive and fancy dress or something. And I remember standing with the rifle and thinking, okay, I don't have to make a decision right now. I will come home and then I will think about it. And when I came home, it turned out that my team, some people from my constituency and my team were here. And so that I said that we are going to stay here and fight. And this is what we are doing. So some of them moved to the Western Ukraine. And then we had like commissioned soldiers joining us and who are training us right now. And then there were people, friends of the friends, etc. And so here we are. We are official right now. So our police and our general resistance registered us. So the guys are getting, I'm officially a leader of this group, but honestly, I spent so much time like doing, like talking to the media so that they are on their own. They're receiving information and some tasks from the general resistance, but they're also doing lots of things that are like their own initiative. And honestly, I think that if like or any of these initiatives were ever like approved, put to approval, they would be never approved. Same things happened with the other resistance teams. Like, it's a good thing, nobody has to approve anything. So people just go there and fight whatever they think is right. My days are also related to having, every time something happens in Kiev, I have to go here and check on people and provide some help if it's necessary. So like when we had the active military actions in Irpin, I had to go there and take the refugees out. Like once the missile hits, and I can tell you there was many more, like for the last 4 days, we're coming there and seeing if somebody seeks help. So my days are like this.
I think one of the first images I saw of you was actually, in some kind of article or maybe, a video when you were holding arms. And, I think that's what we linked to recently in the article put out by the Wilson Center, that so many women are choosing to stay and fight. And I would like to hear a bit more about that. I know from doing, research that 15% of Ukrainian army was already made up of women. But, this kind of leads into that next question that we really have too, about looking at women and children. How are you seeing that play out when families have to decide, who stays and who leaves, and who can leave with children? What are you seeing, particularly for, women that you're in contact with?
So there are two sides to that. And the first one is so at the very beginning, everybody didn't know what to do. And for like maybe a week or two, people were just staying here in Kiev. After that, we decided that we need to push everybody who cannot fight or cannot be ready to fight to the Western Ukraine where it is safer. And people were going there. After we implemented martial law, men are not allowed to leave the country. So they are staying here, like no matter what. For women, they can live with children. However, it is their choice. It is our choice. And it's a super privilege that we can have this choice. So we can either join the army, we can stay and help out with the logistics, or we can move to another country and with no issues and no questions asked. And so we were pushing people to leave Kiev and to leave the eastern cities, and we were pushing to move kids from here. My country's history was never easy, and we had this dream, this goal, and when I went to politics, I was thinking, so our main goal is to make sure that we will grow up a generation of kids that wouldn't know what the war is, the hunger is, the poverty is. You know, like this, like, and it's a great idea for a country. It's a great idea that we survived our things. We survived the collapse of Soviet Union. We survived all this stuff. Like, let this die with us. But for the next generation, we will spoil them. We will make them normal. They will be building this brand new country that will be concentrated on the future, that will be so fantastic. And right now, after what I have seen, I know that this Dream Days idea, it failed. Because for the first week, we already have children that are traumatized, that know the air raid sirens, that know, and I'm sure you heard of it because I was telling it to the whole world, the game of turtle, when you are telling children, small children, you're telling them that when you hear the air raid siren, like you cannot get to the bomb shelter, we're all playing turtles. So we are opening our mouths, closing our ears and going on our bellies, because this is how turtles act. And we were playing turtles so many times here that I don't know how this generation is going to be. And then the things that are behind my back, they're called butterflies because they go like this and this. It was fun to do it over the whole house, because it's also like you're trying to make it fun. And it was fun until it stopped being fun, because the things that we have seen there, like you haven't seen them since like World War II here in Europe. Like when you teach a child who does not really understand what's going on, you're teaching him to hold on to his backpack or her backpack. The small backpack that is not going behind your back, that's going in front, and you're holding to it. Because all the paperwork, all the names, all the passport, everything is here. You're like small water, you're like a couple of energy bars or something, and you're holding to it. You're holding so tight, you remind, like holding very tight, because this happens in Kiev, in Kharkiv, in Mariupol, everywhere where children have to evacuate, that you're holding onto your backpack. And then you're teaching, and then mothers teaching their toddlers the blood type. You know, like the first time I cried during this war was when I seen mom at the bomb shelter asking her toddler, like, what is your blood type? And the kid would go, how this generation is going to be normal? There is no way. And we failed them, because like and by we I mean the whole world, because we allowed this war to happen, because all the United Nations, NATO, all these things, all these organizations that were created so there will be no war, it all failed. Because right now the generation that I was working on, that the whole country was working on so they would be normal, will never be. Because right now they're living somewhere in Poland, somewhere in Western Ukraine, but far away from where they are belong to. And many of them don't have a place to return to.
And so you've spoken some about the realities for children. And I'm wondering, because of some of the work that we really focus on between our programs at the Wilson Center, if you can speak some specifically to, young girls and increased risks of gender-based violence or trafficking. Are there reports that you're seeing that this is happening? I'd be interested to hear some of that.
So one of the reasons that I decided to bear arms for myself, because again, we have been at war with Russia for 8 years, and we know exactly what happens at the places where Russian soldiers come. And we know that the words gender-based violence, what it holds, what this configuration holds. And this is why you're arming yourself, because you say no. There has been reports on the occupied territories regarding the women who didn't flee in time. And of course there are rapes, of course there are killing husbands and raping the wives right there. So it's terrible, and there is nothing you can do. The issue is that once Russian soldiers come, well, again, it's just like Second World War. And you know that there is no honoring, no saying we are not touching civilians, etc. You see that Russians, they are specifically attacking the civilians. They're attacking civilians in occupied cities. They're attacking civilians just generally by their missile. And we don't have the exact numbers, obviously, and we cannot have them. And we just can tell you that as of right now, Putin checked in all the boxes on the list of the war crimes, all the boxes. And he will have to be prosecuted for that. But beforehand, now I'm concentrated on making sure that on the cities that can be occupied, that we take everybody from there. We evacuate people. Because there is no hope on saying that they will show some mercy. They won't.
So one of the things we were interested about also is still thinking about young people and young adults. Are there any movements within Ukraine that are led or driven by younger people, younger Ukrainians? Any kind of anti-war movements or things like that, either coming either on the Ukraine side or even on the Russia side? I mean, we've definitely heard stories in the last few weeks of people really protesting in Russia as well. But I'm curious if there's even an availability of young people to be able to be doing something, those who aren't fighting.
So for younger people who are right now stayed in Ukraine, there are 2 or 3 obvious career paths. So they become volunteers at the refugee centers. They become they work on the logistics, because there is many humanitarian or just different kinds of aids coming into the country, and there is huge need of just hands helping out to distribute it. And the third one, they're helping out on the informational front. So, and here it is the cyber army, which has been doing actually really great. And so on that, I can tell you every single time there is a person who would tell me, oh, my kids, they just want to help. I say cyber army. So it's actually a great initiative, and it has been doing really great on taking down all the Russian-based resources by the DDoSing or the different other ways. And as of right now, I think all governmental Russian resources are not working and not operating. And once they do, the cyber army is getting in again and again and again. But honestly, what they do, with the most motivated ones, they just cruise their paperwork and go to army. This is what people from all over the world always do. You're 16, you're 15, you just and that's it.
Right.
And they have a right, because there is how should I say it nicely? There is a thin line in between when you are 17 to when you are 18. While you are 17, there are 3 months until you're 18, you cannot fight for your country if you want to.
One of the things you also mentioned earlier, and I saw a video of you speaking about maybe a week ago, was really talking about food supplies and fresh water and access. And as you were saying now, with the strategy being more to surround the cities, how are people finding food? How are you accessing clean water and trying to stay healthy? Any hygienic practices or anything like that? How is that happening?
So let's talk about like the good case scenario. It's like the best case scenario is Kiev, and the worst case scenario, Mariupol. So the best case scenario, Kiev, right now, we are extremely protecting our infrastructure nodes, infrastructure points. So right now we do have running water, we have food, we have storages, and like 10% of them, of the stores, of the food stores are working. So it's honestly turned out that you don't need that much, and you can like survive on very simple things. So we are doing okay in that matter. And the main concern is to make sure that we have enough, in advance, because you have to get ready to at least like 14 days siege. But honestly, I'm thinking a month siege. So this is why like every single plastic bottle in my home right now is filled in with water. And we have tons of, in our storage, there's tons of antiseptic wet wipes in case, because we know like this is what we will need. My concentration right now inside the city is to make sure that unprotected members of the city, that they get these supply chains created. Like, so we have the fund that is taking care of the older people who cannot even get out to get food, and they cannot be transported, and they cannot be evacuated. And this is why we're helping, we're making sure that we know whom we are helping and whom to help. We have like this amount, like I think 80 people that we know, like, okay, every third day they have to get like a fresh supply of this and that. And again, this is, we as a city, we tried to do it a centralized system, but then it turned out that it's just like to organize it right now, it's much more complicated than to say, okay, everybody's just doing what they're doing. If you need something, come and get it. Here you can get it. Then the worst case scenario, Mariupol, the city that was not prepared and that has been under the siege for another like 2 weeks. So there is no water there is no food there. People are eating dogs, and this is it sounds like a true story. The worst thing is that like 3 days ago, like the real spring started in Ukraine. So people before that were able to melt the snow and to have the water, but right now they are not able to do that. There is no snow. And this creates like more and more humanitarian catastrophe. And and there was a child died of dehydration just 2 weeks ago, and I still cannot process it, because it's like, how is it possible in the city in the center of Europe, child dying of dehydration? It is impossible. And Russians are not getting Red Cross in, and they are not getting the humanitarian convoys out. This is one of the reasons, and I know we're not talking politics, but this is one of the reasons where you just cannot get an agreement with Putin. He cannot let people out. He wants them to die. And again, you know probably about the missile hitting the theater in Mariupol, where it was written children. You know why it was written children? Because somebody thought that it would be a good thing that person who will be shooting the rocket will reconsider. Well, what we know right now, it was like saying, hit me. There are children here. So right now, one of the things, again, that we are protecting is like, we are not here in Kiev, we are moving people, we are moving children, the ones that are left. We are not like, they are not in kindergartens, not in children's center. Every children's center has to take their like beautiful rainbow thing children's center out. And we take them from the online maps saying, no children's centers here, sorry.
I want to, because I know your time is very limited, I want to also really speak with you about, women's leadership in Ukraine, you know, the position you found yourself in, that you have, you know, been in before, obviously, this immediate crisis. You've already been in this leadership position. But if you could speak a bit about women's role in Ukraine and what you're seeing, if you're seeing that changing at all over the last month or so.
Sure. So where to start? IT used to be a very men's world, and it was never easy there. So to talk about the change that happened in Ukraine is probably good to share the personal story. So when I just started, oh my goodness, it was 19 years ago. When I was just started in IT, I was just like a very motivated young professional. And like after I started working in an IT company from the lowest and going my way up. And I remember like when I had to get a promotion, it was a title and money. And the day before, my manager called me and said, "You're getting tomorrow a title and money." And I was so proud, like it was small title, small money, but I was so proud of myself, extremely proud. And I remember like when I was, what I was wearing that day. And I remember going onto the bus and I was so like motivated and thinking, okay, now like the whole world belongs to me, the whole world now. Like, then when I came in, he called me in and said, "Look, there is a situation here. You're getting your money, but you're not getting your title," because we talked to the guys and they said that they would never be reporting to a girl. And you can imagine that right now, like when I'm saying this, you will say like, no way, she's making it up. Even when right now I'm talking to girls in Ukraine, to women in Ukraine and young professionals, they're thinking that I'm making this up. And this is the progress that we made as a society. Because at some point in 20 years, I want to make sure that all the stories that happen right now to us, they also feel made up. And so that you can imagine how devastated I was at that point. But that actually shaped up like the career that I had, and it shaped up the things that I had, because after that, and when I started my own company and when I was moving forward, I always knew a couple of things. The first one is that you have to always like give your hand to a female partner, because we are often the craziest critics to each other, more than even men are to us. And the second thing is that if the goal, like I was thinking, what is the goal? And I was thinking that the goal is for our daughters to have the same opportunities as our sons. And this is the goal to move towards. Just very simple and very, very normal goal, right? And so then I was working in IT, and there were many funny stories that I would love to share with you, but let's move closer to what happened in politics. So this Ukrainian parliament it has 20% of women. This is unspeakable for Ukraine because the previous one had 7% of women. And I can tell you many people at the very beginning, many like old-fashioned politicians didn't know what to do. And I faced like with us, like, what is she talking about? Like who is she? And so after leading like a 1,000 people company, when I came in, like the first couple of months, they were just saying, Kira, you are the girl, you are the housekeeper of this place. Maybe you should make all of us tea and coffee. And like many, many things. And they changed because, as I'm saying, like the society can change in 17 years, and parliamentaries also can change. And they changed right now. They like don't say that anymore. It was not an easy point, but it changed. So a month ago, again, we did not expect a lot of ourselves, especially when I heard all the intelligence saying I'm not a military person, after they say or we have calculations and you have like 48 hours. It was just like natural stubbornness saying, oh no, wait a minute, let me check. But, and so there were many, many women who said, wait a minute, I have this fantastic opportunity to bear arms. I have this fantastic opportunity and the privilege, honestly, to do what I think is right, and I'm gonna do that. And it would be unfair to say like that there were like female leaders coming in saying, yeah, go join us, etc. It was rather like the decentralized decisions that were made by women who would be saying, yeah, you know what, no. Or, yeah, you know what? I will send my parents with a kid and I will stay here. It's probably my thing to do as well. I want to pitch in, count me in. And this is what happened. And right now, the role of women is very important because it makes men less scared. They cannot allow, especially like the Ukrainian men, they cannot allow themselves to be scared because look, she's like twice your size, and she's standing and saying, I'm not going anywhere. And this is something that is very motivating. This is something that is making us like a real force. You know, we are learning a lot about ourselves, but we are also learning a lot about how the war operates. And we have to go back and read books about the Second World War, about how women were like a real workforce who were working at the not only in the front but also at the back, and supporting the country when men were fighting. And right now we see that this would be also the case here, that somebody needs to work on the economy to be working, or like for the wheels to be moving when there is the majority of the country is fighting, and the majority of the country is like at the front. So this is what we are right now working on, the female leadership organizations, everything, saying, ladies, it's time to get back to work. We cried our things, we were very frustrated, we moved, we settled down, etc. And now we have to ramp it up a little bit. This is what we are like talking about, the small medium business associations, where like half of the board is at the front and the rest is here, and we are saying, yeah, we'll have to step up. So right now we're building this work, not building, like just resuming the work of everything and everybody, because honestly, after months of war, what can I tell you? The economy stopped completely, well, almost completely, and right now we will need to restart it.
Thank you for that, Kira. I think that's a great segue. We only have a few minutes left to talk a little bit about, you know, what we at the Wilson Center, so a DC-based think tank, what we can do to help, you know, amplify your message, you know, other messages from Ukrainian women. What can we do to be supportive?
Well, the main thing, like everybody, I would push to be concentrated on, is just to make sure that our international partners, the NATO, will help us to finish the war. Because honestly, all the aid, all the support, or the ideas, if they go into this meat-breaking, bone-breaking system of war, it couldn't sustain long. So this is why the main thing is, give us a no-fly zone, or protect us, or help us protect our skies. Give us the jets, the S-300s, anything, so that we can stop the destruction, we can stop the killing of the civilians, so we can actually give Ukrainian people a chance to survive it. Second point, so this is the most important. Second point is talking to everybody whom you know, whom we know, who can be doing business with Russia, to stop doing that. This is the most important. So we are like, look, we are moving within the two directions, to make Ukraine stronger and to make Russia weaker. And every single dollar right now that is going into Russia is obviously spent on killing Ukrainians and creating all the devastation and horror and death and pain. And so it's very important to talk like to everybody, and this is part of my job, like sending emails to all the leaders of the companies that I know, saying stop doing business with Russia, stop sending them money, stop operating with them. And honestly, right now it's much easier because there is like no Apple Pay, no SWIFT, no like all these things there, and they at some point they will become North Korea, and we are waiting for that. The points that, so we will continue needing the support for our refugees and support for internal refugees as well. And again, people right now are starting realizing that it's not going to finish tomorrow. It's not going to end now. It could be really like a longer story, especially given what we heard from NATO today. It will be a really longer story, so they have to settle down, they have to figure out their lives. And it will be something that we will need help to, because there will be all these things where people will have to requalify, they will have to change their lives completely.
One of the things we're trying to be very cognizant of is, not putting people in harm's way when we do an interview or talking, explicitly about location or things other than the large general area. So I think a final question after hearing, all of the conversation today is, how do you, are you feeling where you are right now? Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling particularly targeted? Because you are out in the media making, all of, the commentaries, very honest commentaries. So I wonder how you are personally feeling at this time.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. Like, yeah, we we have been warned by our intelligence about Putin's kill list. I know I am on it, but not because I'm a woman and because I'm in Kiev, because I'm a politician and leader of the Liberal Party. So I'm considered Nazi by them, just letting you know. So I feel okay. I'm super concerned about the rocket coming into our house, obviously, because it's just like a gamble that you're doing with the fate, right? But all in all, I feel safe, like safer than many of people here in Ukraine. So I'm training, the safety is more about the control, right? So I'm training. I already, after 30 days, I'm much better with the gun that I was before. Yeah, and I think my situation is much better than anybody else's here. So I'm okay, and I'm good saying that I'm in Kiev, because it's also a motivational thing for people that the members of parliament didn't flee, they didn't go away. We are here with our people, and we need to advertise that. We need to make sure that people know that, because honestly, still when I'm driving around the city and I'm coming in and showing my ID, people think, no way, we thought you were fled already. So that's why it's important point, saying, no, we are here. And Ukrainian parliament is operating, and we are operating. So this is an interesting time for learning a lot about yourself. So let's hope that we're learning good things.